Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Millie's Baseside Chats. I'm your host, Kelly Artis, and I am so excited to be back with you again this week. I hope you had a great week, awesome weekend. We are super excited to just be rolling right on into our second season of these Baseside Chats. We've already had some really awesome discussions, and we are so excited to be bringing you more experts, more tips, more PCS hacks, more duty station intel than you even know what to do with. So, put your seatbelts on, grab your popcorn, and I really invite you to enjoy this conversation that we're having coming up with Melissa Schreur. So do me a favor, you guys, if you're watching this, in a preschool pickup line or at lunch or maybe pause that Netflix or on your lunch break, whatever, share this with a friend who might be interested in what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to hit a few topics. We're going to talk about some duty stations for the Coast Guard. What? We're also going to be talking about something that you should be paying attention to, and that is life insurance. So if you have questions, this is your chance. We have an expert here ready and willing to answer all of your questions, so be sure to throw them in the comments as we go along. If you have advice or suggestions or high fives to give, we love those too. So join the conversation. All right, you guys, I am going to bring Melissa on screen. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey. Hi, how are you doing, Kelly? Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm so excited to chat with you because I'm going to be the student today.
Yay, I know. I have to be talking about something boring like life insurance, but I'm happy to share.
It's super important. It's one of those things, you don't want to think about, but y'all, let's be real. Our life is all about being prepared for things.
Yes.
So this is a perfect topic. So Melissa, go ahead and take a second, just introduce yourself to our followers and let everybody know where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So my name's Melissa Schreur. That is how you pronounce that. I am a Coast Guard spouse as of probably about 8 years now, and I met my husband in my hometown of St. Petersburg, Florida. So he was on a boat cutter there, going in and out, deploying. So, while we're a Coast Guard family, he still does have some overseas, at some point. And we are, just really liking military life. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Tell us how you got into the line of work that you do now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually became an insurance agent right out of high school. So I never went to college. I literally scoured the phone book, tried to find a good job, and worked in an insurance agency as a receptionist and moved my way up to learn about the field and get licensed. So I have about 16 years experience. I'm about 35 years old. So I've been doing it way before being a military spouse.
Awesome. Sounds like a really stable-ish career choice.
Yeah.
You work remotely. Well, you own your own company. So yeah, you make your own rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I wish more military spouses were aware that it is the stable career.
Yeah.
Everybody needs insurance no matter what kind it is.
So true. So fun fact. I took a course kind of similar to you. It was straight out of college. I was looking for something. I thought I wanted to move away from Charleston. I was in Charleston going to school, and I was like, I'm gonna live somewhere else. I just need to go and do something else. So I had Charlotte, all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina. I was like super adventurous, you guys. And I took this test to sell. Was it health insurance or life insurance? I can't remember which. No, it was life insurance. And I did this got on board with some company. I don't know if they were fully legit.
They're really aggressive once you start showing interest.
It was door-to-door salesy kind of stuff, going to different companies. And I don't know. I didn't last very long. I think I sold one policy, and I was like, I'm going to go work in retail.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's really important, but it's hard to start that conversation. And all the trainings and the courses, they will tell you, hey, look, life insurance agents are pretty much considered used car salesmen.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I know, yeah. I'm like, it's cool. I'm not offended by that.
No, my God, no. I think it was all about the tactics, and you know what it was is I didn't feel like I knew enough to answer questions well. There's a lot you need to know. It's hard. It's actually really complicated.
Yeah, it can be, but term life insurance is super simple.
Oh, yeah. I wasn't doing the simple one. So anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your favorite duty station. Where have you lived that has just been the coolest?
Yeah, so I actually haven't moved very often. So I was in my hometown, when my husband met me. I'm sure that's pretty common for a lot of military spouses. Obviously, I miss my hometown
Yeah.
for reasons, but there's a lot of reasons I don't miss it. So, but Key West, actually, we just came from Key West. So we were there 4 years, and my husband and I, it's kind of funny. We, are coming down from living there basically, but we were so anxious to get out. And now I'm like, okay, I think I really miss it.
Yep.
Everyone's like, "Oh, where'd you come from? Key West, you're so lucky, and man, you got to be so sad that you're out of there." But first, we're like, "Oh no, we hated it, we hated it." But now I'm like, "All right, like that island vibe, even though it's not an island, it's not technically overseas. It's just, you're really removed from reality
Yeah.
when you're there, and I do miss it."
Oh, that's it. Well, so okay, so talk to me if I'm headed to Key West. What are some things that I need to know? Because I'm sure there's some folks out there, some lucky few that are headed there at some point. Tell us what they need to know. How can they be
Definitely.
prepared?
Absolutely. So Key West, obviously, I'm sure a lot of people see that on the list and hope that they get it and they want to get super excited. But as a cautionary note, there are some challenges, obviously, to living there. It's not Key West, but I know I was an ombudsman for the first year that I was there, and I worked at a joint. I didn't work, but my husband's joint services. So even though he's Coast Guard, we rub shoulders, I guess, with a lot of other branches. And that used to be primarily Navy, but now it's like half and half Navy Coast Guard, and there's some Army and all that stuff. So um, lots of people are not prepared for the housing challenges. So we had a lot of people that would come from areas like North Carolina where you could have a 2,500 square foot house for really affordable, and you had a lot of stuff that you accumulated, and they were really blindsided by the fact that they had to store their belongings because of the square footage that's not only there on base, but the area off base. It's just small. So
Hmm.
I think Key West in and of itself is about 8 miles big. So
Wow.
it's just tiny, everything's really stacked upon each other. There you can't really, find places except the water if you have a boat.
Hmm.
So be prepared for that. I would also say, like, if you're looking at a recreational type of option, do you have a boat that you could take with you? Is it something you've considered? If you feel like it's, a good idea for your budget, having a boat while you're there, I think would be a great experience. So we didn't. And I'm like, man, if we ever go back there, we're gonna have a boat because you got to get off the island, off the rock, they like to say. And so if you're not getting on the water, you're taking about a 3 hour plus drive to get into like civilization. To
Wow.
Yeah,
How
and we
long
we
is it
just
by how long is it by boat? Is it shorter to get what, mainland?
also
What do
by
they call?
boat. I don't know how you get there, but like the Keys are just known for being on the water. So
Wow.
if you have a boat, it's really easy to you know, get off the land. And there's really there's no parks. There's no like actual land for you to
Right.
go and like get into nature. And that was one of the biggest reasons we hated it.
Huh.
So yeah, like you have the little island of Key West. It's not really an island. And then it's the string of the Keys, and that string of the Keys is really neat. It's about 2 hours. There's little pockets of stuff to do, but again, it's just really thin.
Hmm.
So unless you like have a boat to explore the water, you're gonna feel like landlocked.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, I
that's a
could
good
see
heads
that.
up for that.
Oh, how often did you come back?
We really didn't. And
Yeah.
so that's I think a lot of families were smart in the sense that they would just like, let's go to Miami. A spouse that
Mm.
maybe didn't work, or like, okay, I can't sit in the house. I'm not
Yeah.
just gonna go outside. I'm going to Miami. So there's no Target. It's like a big deal,
That's
there's no
hard.
Walmart.
That's hard. All
Um
right. That's the trade-off of living in paradise,
right?
right?
Like there's no Target escape except
Mm.
going to Miami. And so, you can drive about like 2 hours and get Upper Keys and right at the bottom of Florida, but then to really get into the city area is probably another hour or two, and Miami's huge. So every time we ended up in Miami, like the traffic was just so overwhelming. And so we did it when we had to. I want to
Mm.
say probably over the 4 years that we were there, we probably drove out like 4 times. Like
Wow.
4 to 10. We were like, I'm not doing that drive,
Wow.
so
So in the 4 years
we
that you were there, how was the weather? Like, did you guys have any kind of? Because when I think about Key West, I think, oh god, that's like really out there.
It's awesome for me, because I'm from Florida. So I'm from
Oh, okay.
Tampa. The weather is actually awesome, in my opinion. No change in seasons. You don't have any of that stuff. So we're in Maryland now, which we'll probably get to. So I'm excited for the winter to come. Like, when is it actually going to be fall? It's pretty hot right now. But,
Hmm.
as far as the weather goes in Key West, it's flip flops all the time. It gets a little bit cold. You could wear flip flops with a hoodie. So I miss that part because it's just really simple in terms of, what you need to wear, which
Yeah.
is like basically sorts. The hurricanes, we actually were there for Hurricane Irma, so we had to
Mm.
evacuate, and we lived in an RV, so that was fun. And it survived.
What? Wow. Lucky.
Yeah. But it's great compared to other places in Florida. It's got the island breeze.
Hmm.
So, while it's not formally like the Bahamas or, Virgin Islands or whatever other island you'd compare it to, it's it's nicer than, like, I remember from being in my hometown in the Tampa Bay area. It's got more of the breeze. So, oh, you're making me miss it.
I know. Well, you're just making me sad because we're Army. We never get good stuff like. I mean, that's not a thing for us. So,
I know,
oh
it's so
well.
funny.
I'll dream. I'll live
Mhm.
vicariously through your duty
Yeah.
station stories.
I mean, the hurricane's a huge challenge. So hurricanes, I mean, we lived in an RV park, like 5 or 10 miles from Big Pine Key, which is like a little bit up from Key West, not quite the middle of the Keys. And Big Pine Key, I think, that was what really got destroyed by
Mm,
Hurricane Irma.
yeah.
So we're like, oh, you're gonna have a park to go back to because the bases get really full with the
Mm,
RV. So it's like, oh wow.
interesting.
Oh.
That's cool. Well, that's a whole other conversation. I'm going to pick your brain someday about
Okay,
RV living.
sure.
Okay. I do have a question about insurance. So the one thing that I would like to kind of draw a big fat underline bold marker line under is how a lot of us as military spouses don't have life
Mhm.
insurance, and
Yes.
how we kind of undervalue what we bring and do for the family. So,
Really.
if we're not working, which is kind of the quintessential problem that we're all suffering with and from, we feel like, oh,
Right.
well, we don't need to replace my income. Um,
'Cause you don't have any, right?
let's
Yeah.
talk about that. Tell
Yeah.
me your professional opinion on that.
Yeah. So my professional opinion is not only mine, it's
Yeah.
also an industry, opinion. So even if you're talking to another life insurance agent or a financial advisor, whether they're fee only or not fee only, the consensus is stay-at-home parents should have life insurance. Now, how much is really debatable. More than what they have is really what, you should have. So
Hmm.
we have military spouses who are, working, not working, business owners, wide variety, but all of it is financial. I guess I would say to anyone military spouse that's tuning in to this, just try to think for a minute without getting too heavy about, God forbid, you pass away. What does that financially look like for your family? Can your
Hmm.
service members stay in, and handle all the childcare, issues? I mean, there's lots of single service members for whatever the reason that deal with childcare issues, and it works and all that. Can your family stop what they're doing, on a financial sense, to take on all of those extra tasks? What does
Hmm.
your life look like, for your family? God forbid you're not doing everything that you're doing. Like, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're managing all the admin, maybe.
Exactly.
Um, the to and from school, the sports
Yep.
activities. Are your children going to have to sacrifice, some of those activities now that you've had this tragedy in your family? So
Yeah.
kind of thinking about those numbers is a good idea. I think salary.com, you can look this up on your own or just Google, like, what is the average salary for a stay-at-home parent. I
Oh, I
mean,
love
basic.
that.
Yeah, that's a good tip. If you don't trust me or anyone else who's talking to you, just go to Google, right? Like, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Um, or actually, like, go to a financial advisor. You don't have to
Yeah.
start with life insurance. You
Yeah.
start with a financial advisor, and they'll be able to kind of open up, okay, have a really candid conversation for you in a financial sense. What kind of things could happen to derail your life
I mean,
financially?
and
Yeah.
honestly,
So
Melissa, I kind of love this conversation for a couple of
yeah.
reasons. One is to be
Hmm.
prepared, not fun to talk
Yep.
about, but still reality. But also, I think we lose a sense of what our worth is,
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
in the
totally.
mix of this lifestyle. And, you're just kind of living this life when
Yeah.
you thought your life would look like something else maybe, or maybe you have
Yeah.
work and you feel undervalued at work. And when you actually start to put numbers down to what it is that you
It's so
actually
high.
contribute,
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's a boost. It's like,
It
oh,
is.
I
Yeah.
do so many things. Like, what would it cost to hire, like you said, a housekeeper, a
Right.
taxi
Right.
driver, a
Adds
personal
up.
chef, a trainer,
Mhm.
oh my God, there's so many things that that you don't
Yeah.
count for. Um,
Mhm.
that
It's
I think
honorable,
more
like
people
you're
should
saying. It's not
take
just
stock
like
in.
a number. Yeah, I mean, being at home, whether it's part time, full time, or even if you're that working spouse, whether you're in the military or not, there's a reason that you're working.
Right.
So I like to think about it from that sense. Why are you working?
Mm.
Because there's a reason behind that. Because if there wasn't, you wouldn't be. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
what are you working for? Did you want to work? Is it something that you're doing for extra money towards your family, for
Right.
fun things? Is it something that you're doing because you want to contribute to long term goals?
Mm.
And then you remove yourself from the picture, what does that do now to those goals
Mm.
for your family? So just kind of trying to
That's a
think
great
and
point.
imagine. Mm.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I do like it. I like it too for just minimal disruption uh,
Hmm.
for the family, for your
Right,
kid. I mean,
right.
and it's just peace of mind. It's like, okay,
It
well,
is
I'm
right.
good. If anything happens, I'm fine.
Yeah, and lots of people have been doing insurance for a long time and life insurance for a good 3 to 5 years. And I'm a lot of the objection, no matter who I'm talking to, is I don't want my family to get rich. So I hear that every so often.
Oh,
There's some
God.
who really understand. But insurance, like you just said, is minimal disruption. Insurance is not really supposed to provide more than,
Yeah.
um, it's to replace what's actually already there. And people, I think, undervalue the value of their potential to earn income. So
Yes.
that's
And they're
one of
just
the
their
most
existence.
valuable assets. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So
Great.
it's
No, that's great.
long thinking. So
So you mentioned earlier a couple. I mean, what did you said something about fee based or not? Are
yeah.
there different types of insurance professionals? There's what I did out of college. Would probably say don't do
Yes.
that. Don't go to those people. I wish I knew what it was
Yeah.
called. I can't remember now. Um,
Right.
let's say I want to start the conversation. What's a good place? How do you start vetting people that you want to work with?
Well, that's
Especially as a military family.
Yeah, absolutely. So, military families, we've got extra tools and resources to us. Lots of our banks or military affiliations have resources and or people with credentials that can help us through that. So, you have financial advisors that are, only fee only, like a certified financial planner that will give you unbiased advice. It's not that the ones that operate on commission or with a fee don't give you that advice,
Mm,
but it's hard, right, to
mm-hmm.
judge and trust. So I work on commission, and I don't think that's a problem. I don't get paid if nothing happens. So I
Mm,
do a lot of free work also. So it's kind of like how you look at it. You really just have to know, do you trust this person? Can you validate? Trust but verify is something one of my supervisors taught me a long time ago. Can
mm,
you do that? With somebody. So shopping around and getting information is not a bad idea. As far as finding out how much you need, a financial advisor is usually a great idea. Life insurance agents can help you with that as well. So can life insurance companies directly. So there's agents and brokers like myself that handle several companies, and then there's also companies that have their own resources. So you yourself can go to Google, find a
yeah.
life insurance calculator. If you want to start there and you're not really ready to have an actual conversation with somebody maybe you're busy, maybe it's just too heavy of a topic, just go online and find a life insurance needs calculator, and that
Mm.
will kind of get your brain going and plug in the numbers, and it's going to give you that big number that you're going to be like, oh man. And that's just a place to start. You don't
Hmm.
have to buy that much insurance, but you're answering the questions, and so it's telling you if you pass away, this is about what you would need for your family to accomplish these things. So it's not that you have to buy that amount, but life insurance agents, financial planners, and also I think lots of bases have
Hmm.
financial planners
Yep.
available through several different forms. The
Yeah.
government. I mean, I don't know. There's so many. So depending on what installation you're at, and I'm sure that's also there overseas as well, and they can help you there.
Yeah. So speaking of, okay, so let's pretend like I'm preparing for a big PCS, maybe even one overseas. and I'm putting my things together in my PCS binder that I've downloaded from MILLIE and have free downloads for it. And I'm checking off documents, and I realize, oh, insurance. I
Right.
don't have any. Maybe I should look into that. And I'm starting that process. I know that there are some complications with being
Mhm.
overseas in insurance. Let's
Right.
start with maybe what do you need to have in a row before you leave? Like what kind of
Sure.
documents do you need to take with you if you have them? If you don't have them,
Mhm.
how far in advance do you need to prep to be able to like
Mhm.
get that locked in? And then let's talk about being overseas and trying to secure that.
Okay. I love this. Okay. So
And
yeah,
get.
anytime you move, yeah, exactly. Anytime you move, I've learned this that one of my biggest nuances with moving is the paperwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
Life is
Yep.
so busy, we just accumulate so much paperwork and all this stuff. And so we've got, our own method of keeping track of our really important documents that can't really be online. Your wills.
Mm-hmm.
Do you even have one? Lots of bases and installations have legal departments that can help you with that. Actually, my husband still needs to be updated, and it's been on our checklist since we moved here.
Oh
You know what
no.
I mean? We just had a child, and it's not like a huge deal, right? But his parents are like his, listed. So it's like we got to
Yeah.
get that done, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so compiling all that information, your life insurance policies, having them printed, and that's probably one of the most important insurance policies that I personally would have in a format, like in my hand. I
Yeah.
mean, sure, you can store a copy electronically, but you want to make sure that everything's going to go well in your favor, and that's your contract. So your car insurance policy, your auto insurance
Yeah.
policy, those are contracts. So you can't redo that one.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure you have a physical copy. In terms of prepping, that is really important because lots of people military families get blindsided by the fact that once they are either really close to going out of the country or they're already out of the country and they want life insurance, it's very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get to that in just a second. But sometimes approval is not that quick. Okay.
Right.
Like sometimes it can be, it depends on the situation. But usually, people in general, consumers and also civilians and military families are buying probably around $500,000 of coverage, usually more. So you can be buying anywhere from 500,000 to $1 million worth of life insurance, and that sounds like a lot, but that is what happens.
Not
That's what
really. Yeah.
most people
Mm-hmm.
actually do.
Yeah.
They ask for that too,
Mm-hmm.
so they have it has to be justified. But when you're talking about that, life insurance companies are not just going to give it to you really easily. They're going to make sure that you don't have any really serious health issues, so they're going to need your records lots of the times. And going through this now with a lot of customers, sometimes it works out really well getting a hold of your medical records, whether you're at a civilian facility or a military facility, and sometimes it doesn't. So it could take 3 weeks to a month or two sometimes to get that all handled, and it is very frustrating. And
Mm-hmm.
the insurance companies do the best that they can to
Yeah.
get a hold of them, but it is just like a huge debacle on that side. So most people are blindsided by that too. So now you add, okay, well, let's say you're planning to move, and how much further in advance were you even notify that you're going to have an
Mm-hmm.
overseas move? I'm a Coast Guard family, so I don't know that. I don't know if they tell you is 6 months, years, 3 months. Like, I don't know how much time you get, but you don't want to run into that situation where you're waiting for your overseas PCS notification to get your life insurance. You really should be doing that like way in
Right.
advance, but that's like not usually. That's my opinion. Do it sooner than later with any kind of type of life insurance. Sooner than later is always better. But let's say that you get that notification, you're like, okay, crap. You have to be able to sign your application as well as your policy in the States. So your feet are supposed to be on the ground in the
Hmm.
States. You're not allowed to sign it when you're out of the country. It's federal laws. So there's no insurance company that has that solution for you. So, if you're not able to accomplish all of that, then it becomes a problem. You can't do it. So, um, lots of times people are over there and they want to get it done. And if you're vacationing in the States, you're a lot of the time you're coming home. It depends on how long you're going to be here. If you're only coming home for a week, probably not. If you're coming home for a month, probably not. And then you also have to disclose the fact that you're going out of the country. So anytime you apply for life insurance in the United States, the insurance carriers are going to ask you, have you left the country in the last 2 years? Cool. Where did you go? For how long? And for what reason?
Mm-hmm.
And then also, are you have any set plans to leave in the next year? So you have to disclose all of these things. Um, and it could be a dangerous area. That's the
Wow.
reason. You can get life insurance from a lot of companies. Like Prudential is a really large global company. A lot of insurance carriers are global. I don't know, the differences in the contract, the prices, the process, when you are in another country. But worst case scenario, you could go to one of those providers when you're in that other country and
Hmm.
see what's available. But I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad and how that compares to the United States. So
So can you talk? I mean, why? Like, where
I
does
don't
that come
know.
from?
It drives me insane. It literally drives me insane,
Hmm.
especially because, the installations a lot of the times are what U.S. territories. Like, I don't
Yeah.
really understand all that.
Okay.
So it's frustrating, and it depends on where you're going. Like, you could be here, I've done it before, you could be here where you're getting everything taken care of ahead of time, and you've disclosed to the insurance company, I'm going to be living in this country for this long. And it just depends on your occupation as if you're the military member, the territory, where you're going to be living, like, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it just depends on where it is. Um, Whether or not the insurance carrier is going to be okay with the situation. So
So, moral of
it's
the
not impossible.
story.
It's very, very likely.
Moral of the story, if you're headed overseas, the minute you find out, if this is something that you have pushed off and pushed off, this is probably now a good
Yeah,
time to revisit.
exactly. You
Cool.
don't want to be like, oh my word, now I've realized the financial value that I have, whether I'm the military member or the spouse. And now you guys,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, have had that realization, and it's important to you to make sure
Yeah.
that, your loved ones are taken care of if you die. And now what if you're there 4 years? Like, you have to wait 4 years? And
And that's
then,
just
okay,
hanging
so
over your
then
head, like, oh God, don't go out in
it's a big deal.
traffic.
Yeah, I
um,
know. You don't want to live in fear, but then you have health issues too. So
right.
health issues are the problem with life
Yeah.
insurance. Are you going to get a serious one when you're over there that's now going to totally mess up your ability to get it later,
Yeah.
where you're uninsurable, or it's just more expensive now because now you have these health challenges. So
Right. And the older you get too, right? Doesn't that kind of
yeah,
factor in? So it's better to lock it in early when you're healthy and you do everything's going well for you, hopefully. What about what I tend to hear anytime I'm in conversation with people about insurance? Well, my service member has SGLI. That's
yes,
fine. So we've already covered like replacing your value in the home as the non-service member. So we've talked about that. But do you think it's important? Why would one consider additional policies? Let's frame it that way.
yeah. No matter, that's a great question. Because it's not just the amount of coverage, making sure you have the right amount. It's your transition. So military families often think, I've had like really young families tell me, oh, he's gonna do 20 years, and I think statistically, like, that doesn't actually happen. I mean, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
the numbers on that, but how do you know? No, like,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, my husband has that plan, and he probably will, but I'm like, hey, like, you got to keep your options open. If you
Yeah.
hate what you do,
Yeah.
things change. So, how long are you really going to be a military family? That's really always,
Mm.
I think, a question in our minds. Like, there's no real guarantee. So, you're always going to have a point in time when you get out of the military, right? You can't serve forever, your entire working life. So with spouses in particular, they don't get the continuation veterans benefit. So they don't
Mm-hmm.
get any of that. I mean, there's the SVP, which is a survivor's benefit plan, and that's not comparable really to any term life insurance product or any other life insurance product because it's an annuity. So I'm not an annuities expert, but bases definitely have all of the briefs on that. Lots
Mm-hmm.
of couples, when they approach retirement, are really confused of what to do. It's a big decision. There's lots of wonderful blogs on that, and then also resources where you can figure that out. So lots of times they're deciding, do we need term life instead of that SBP plan, or do we need both? What are the differences? But you also have the veterans benefit, which is an increasing term policy um, for veterans that are getting out. So there, spouses don't get that. Number one, spouses only have 100,000 in additional life insurance or life insurance period through the military. So that's not enough when
Mm,
you figure out what you do financially for your family, but that cannot be transitioned except into a whole life policy. So that's not my favorite kind of plan. It's expensive, usually in comparison to term and other options. So you don't want to be that spouse that's stuck with that, you know,
I'm like
whenever you
I'm taking
get
so many notes.
older.
It's not even funny because I know like almost none of this. This is like,
Yeah, it's something that we just don't talk about. Like
yeah,
life insurance is not a policy that's like fun. So
right.
it's not, hey, how can I save on my car insurance? How do you get a good deal on homeowners insurance? That's just about everywhere on all the military spouse groups because it's a
Yeah,
big issue when we move. We're getting new insurance. It's not a fun pair of shoes you got on sale.
right.
It's like something that we're purchasing, and we're like there are lots of spouses that have insurance, extra life insurance, and I love that. I thought originally that wasn't the case, but there are lots of them.
Yeah.
It's just not something you're talking about. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So there's a lot of military spouses that, or families in general, even with the SGLI, that they don't have any awareness really that what they have might not be enough, and
right.
that when they transition, they're going to have some challenges. So when you
Right.
transition, as military, you have mental and physical issues that could be coming up from your service. I talked to a veteran the other day. He has PTSD. It's a conversation that comes up so often, and he had some incident that happened. He had to be medevaced from where he was in 2009 Iraq,
Hmm.
or 2006. And I was just like, how would he have known that he was going to be physically or mentally affected by that? He had no physical problems. So it wasn't a
Right.
combat injury, which is
Right.
very, very common.
Right.
Um, and I'm like, man, like, how would he have known like that he was going to handle the situation that way? So there's
Yeah.
mental and physical issues that we have as spouses and as service members, that create problems for our health after the military life, and that plays a role into your insurance, your insurability or
Yeah.
the price. So
It's just, it's not
be
something,
safe, but just get it soon. Get
it's
it
like,
soon while you're young, lock it
yeah,
in long, get a term, get a 30-year term, like just bite the bullet and do it. Like it
just do
seems
it.
that simple,
You won't even
but
notice the pain. Like, they just,
it's
and then
so
it's
small.
there and you have it
Exactly.
forever.
Mhm.
Oh, man.
Right.
Well, I have some homework to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, for
This has
sure.
been so great, Melissa. Do you have any other like parting words or tips or advice in regards to this conversation? Obviously, we're all going to take a look at our coverage, our policies. If we don't have it, we're going to do the calculator and see how much we are worth. You're worth
Yeah.
more than any number on a screen, you guys.
Yeah, pat
But
yourself on the
like,
back. That's what I say. Pat yourself on the back.
yeah,
Realize your value. Just stomach the conversation. Don't overthink it. Lots of times my customers, even if they're civilians, like I try to like just really take it slow and not make it so overwhelming. Because once you get through all of this, you have to figure out what's your best deal. So putting people in your arsenal like a broker like myself, not a little pitch for myself, but then not only that, like go to do the research on your own. If you don't trust me or another broker, call several insurance carriers if you want. You go online, you have a lot of brokers out there that are going to show up, and I could drop some names, but pretty much your first couple people that are going to show up online are term life insurance brokerages. And I am that person. I'm just not as large. They don't have any real knowledge of military families. I've had
mm,
so many situations where they just give you like a quote over the phone, and they're not
mm-hmm.
verifying some problems that can come up. So I'm your term life insurance broker for military families for sure. But I mean, you have financial counselors on base. Lots of times
Mm-hmm.
they're military spouses. You've
Yep.
got lots of options out there with financial planners. I've got people that I could refer you to if you're really looking to figure out whether or not you need it.
Yeah, you got, and I'm so glad you brought that up. There are tons of service providers, not just in insurance. I mean, we work in the real estate
Exactly.
world, and we are
Right.
constantly
Yes.
hearing that,
Mhm.
oh, we worked with this agent, but they told us not to use our VA loan. It's because they didn't have any understanding of the military benefits and
Yeah,
lifestyle and so
right.
that's kind of part of our core mission too. It's like work with people
Exactly.
that get it, work with people that know. So that
Mhm.
should be
But
like
no,
vetting
you can avoid
process.
so many hiccups in the process,
Yeah, number one.
so.
Okay, tell
Mhm.
everybody where we can find you online, on the socials, all the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find my brokerage is Insure The Heroes, so you can go to insuretheheroes.com. It is plural. I have a Facebook page as well, so try to do some videos here and there. So yeah, you can check me out anytime and send me a message, and happy to answer any questions you have.
Awesome. So if you catch us on the replay, Melissa will be here in the comments. Throw your questions, and feel free to pick her beautiful brain. And thank you so much for sharing all
Thanks
of
for
this
having me. I
information
appreciate
and
it.
time with us. We really appreciate it. We love to get to see the face behind a thing and a topic that I know nothing about or very
I know
little.
it's
So
intimidating, but it's easy.
yeah,
You put the right people in your arsenal, and you'll be feeling a lot better about it.
yeah, and you made it fun and really approachable. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, everybody. So I am going to wrap this up for today. Thank you for joining us. If you tuned in, if you catch this later on the replay, welcome. Awesome. Be sure to say hi in the comments so we can circle back and acknowledge you. Next week, you guys, I have something really exciting I'm going to be sharing with you. So I don't know if you all were tracking. The Military Family Advisory Network launched, they have a biannual survey that they send out to just ask for your opinions and your voices and your experiences on things. And their next survey is coming out next week. So we're going to be really excited about that. And as a treat, I have the executive director, Shannon Razadin, and the research director, Shelly Kimball, joining us to answer all your questions about the survey, what's on the survey, what kind of information are we looking for, who can take the survey. I mean, you name it. Think of all your questions and come back next week to join us for that conversation as we kick off the launch of that. And be sure to share with your friends, fill it out, share your stories, share your experiences. We want to hear what's working and what needs support. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thanks so much, you guys. We'll see you next week.